They're guys. They do magic. They are the magic guys.
Yes, we are guys who do magic, and we are here from different countries. Australia, New Zealand.
Bonsoir!
Yes.
I'm in the French Quarter sometimes, so I use that accent.
Ah, true. Buongiorno. All the Italians out there. Yes. And Jason is doing a silent act.
No, I'm here.
Good day, mate.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we're after. Nice one. Hey, everyone's here early. Everyone's ready because they
Phoenix,
know.
Greetings.
They know who we're
The problem
chatting
is
to.
that my audio is not as good, so I don't want to drown you all with terrible audio.
Thoughtful.
Luckily, your deep voice makes up for any crappy audio. It like still picks it up pretty crisply. It's just the linking rings that really makes it loud.
There's work going on there too.
Oh, is that you, Doug?
No, I'm guessing that's Mika. Who's there banging the rings? It's not me.
What?
Someone's
There's rings banging? No, there's nothing.
Someone's grinding metal together somewhere.
Oh, no. Just outside of my building, there's someone with a jackhammer destroying the ground.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so that's what I mean.
That makes sense.
As long as it's not Mika. That's cool. That's all
Well,
good.
Mika's not in New Zealand at the moment. He's in Australia, so.
Yeah, but he is New Zealand. This whole web of magicians is getting too crazy. And just to make it even more crazy, we have can we still call him a magician? I don't know.
These are questions I intend to ask this man.
Yes, the man of deceit. The man of luck. We have him here back again since his 2 series have come out. Now we've got him back to really ask him the hard-hitting questions, find out what he's up to, and how many times he's been kidnapped. So should we just bring him on? I reckon everyone's
I'm
keen to see
excited
him.
for this one.
Let's bring on Stephen Bridges.
Our production value's lacking today.
I loved it. It felt quite casino-y in the track, you know? It felt like a heist movie. I liked it. It was good.
Thank you. Well, now we got that sorted. That's good. That's good. How are you, Stephen?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me. Nice to be back.
Thanks for staying up for us. I know it's nighttime for you, and we appreciate it.
It is officially nighttime, but it's not like 3 a.m. It's only 10 p.m., so it's all right.
It's still bearable.
International man of mystery.
No one ever apologizes to me for staying up, but whatever. Thanks for staying up, Doug. Whatever.
What time is it for you, Doug?
It's like 4 o'clock.
4 p.m. We appreciate you as well.
Sometimes it's like 7, and I'm an older guy, so I wrap it up early.
That's true. Wow, lots of questions coming in, comments coming in already. That's awesome. But you're looking well groomed, even more so since last time. So things must be going well. Even from what I can watch from the series, it seems to go well. But
I've been around the gambling world. I've seen guys go down the spiral. You seem to be doing the opposite of that. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I think
people don't know who we're talking to. Who is Stephen Bridges?
Because
we didn't really introduce what you do yet.
Do you want me to do it, or do you want to do it?
You have an elevator pitch? You could do it.
Yeah, essentially, I'm a card counter, and I imagine most of your audience will know what card counting is. But card counting is, in essence, a way of gaining a legal advantage over the house in blackjack, and we do that essentially by keeping track of what cards have been played, and then we use that information to know what cards are likely to come next. And if we think there's 10s and aces on the way, we put lots of money out, and if not, then we don't. And that's essentially it in the most condensed version of card counting I can give. But even though it's legal, casinos don't like it. So.
And I love in your original video when you very first explained like what you were going to start doing, your endeavor. You explained that like casinos make, what was it, like 125 billion a year, which is more than like the big mega brands. And so it's not fair. So why not, they're going to take money from us and learn how to take money from us. We should learn how to take money from them. I think that's like.
I think it's totally justified. Yeah.
I'm listening to the pitch, waiting for you to say, and I do magic sometimes. Is that still part of your life? It used to be. Oh,
I mean,
that
did you
counts.
see that fan?
Does it have the spring in it?
Hey.
Is that one of those tape to get?
No, no,
Holy
no.
spring?
It's all
Okay,
it's
that
all
counts
good.
then.
Yeah.
Holy crap! Is that a whole ass thumb fan?
That was look at that. Not a pressure fan. I'm not that good, but a
Oh.
regular fan.
Is
Must
that
be
a big
nice.
ass thumb fan, bro?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I didn't want to flex too hard on this podcast, but I thought, surrounded by you guys, I have to show some serious skill early on to gain some credibility. So
It must be because there's no humidity in the UK, Jay, so they can thumb fan, whereas us, it's all sticky. So we're like, we have to do pressure.
you know what? I've done magic
Do you want to see an Australian thumb fan?
yeah.
Yeah.
I've
Is
done
that a
magic for
humidity
so
joke?
long. I've never been able to pull off. I've never been able to do a pressure fan. I don't know why. It just always looks bad. That doesn't look good, does it? It looks a
It
bit
looks
wrong.
amazing. Don't worry about it.
Oh, Jason, you flatter me. To be fair, that one wasn't as. I really expected a perfect one from you, Jason, and that was.
Oh, I'm sorry. There you go.
Oh, there you go. That's
Hey.
it.
I was just trying to make you feel better.
Thank you. And look at that, Doug there with it. Josh, you have to do a pressure fan right
anyway,
now.
enough about this.
Yeah,
enough
yeah.
about these pressure fans and clip shifts.
This is what it has to be, please.
Let's talk about gambling.
Yeah. Man,
Particularly
I
on
was-
new series. I gotta know. I've got a curious question for you. These series seem to be very high quality, like the amount of effort that you're putting into them. How much footage would you say that you're getting per episode, and how much are you trimming out to get it down to that 20 minutes? Like you're sitting there with like 8 hours of footage, right?
And we're talking about your YouTube channel series, which you also didn't mention. You
Yeah,
have
no-
an
no-
amazing series on YouTube.
Yeah,
Right, yeah, so-
everyone knows. There's a link below to all of Stephen's work, but please tell us.
Yeah, for people that don't know, think of it like a vlog series / documentary, but with a hidden camera chucked in for the mix of me going around America counting.
So good.
Thanks. Yeah, so the production value I think kind of went up in this series. Well, for two reasons really. Firstly, I worked with an editor. I've got a friend called Jack Howard who's a filmmaker and a director, and he's also incredibly good at editing. And he lives really near me. So I would sort of do the very rough cut of the video because I always thought I couldn't outsource editing. I was like, there's too much of the story comes together in the edit. But I found that, I could do the rough cut and then I sit with him and we would edit together. And then he would just make it so much better. And he's got such a good eye for storytelling. And as much about knowing what to cut out and just things about what to leave in, like just little things that I would have cut because I would have been thinking, I've got to keep it really like tight. But little things that he would leave in that would really help set the scene. So I think working with him really elevated the quality. But also, I sort of switched up the hidden cameras I was using. And these hidden cameras I could record essentially for just nonstop. So I could record maybe like 8 hours worth of footage,
Can you
which
give
just
us an
meant
insight there? I was telling my wife, I'm quite curious about what you used for that footage to get like the cage shots where you're talking money with the pit boss and managers.
I can tell you, I actually can't tell you, but I'll tell
okay.
you why I can't tell you. And that's maybe more interesting than what it is. So,
okay, then.
at one point I realized I needed to really up my hidden camera game because before then I was using like a hidden camera watch that just could record for about 50 minutes.
Mhm.
So I would have to just sort of think about when I thought something was about to happen, and then I would turn on the camera and then you try and capture it, which obviously meant that anything that happened spontaneously, I didn't really get.
Right.
So this time I was like, I want to be recording all of the time. So I spent so much time. Originally, one of the big things I really wanted to do was get a hidden camera fitted into like headphones, like over-the-ear headphones. I was like, if I could get like a GoPro in one of those, that'd be incredible. And all this, and so I was trying to get that customized, and I couldn't get it done in the end. And eventually, I spoke to somebody that sells hidden cameras to the police in the UK, and then he put me in touch with a guy that basically modifies hidden cameras for the police. And originally I called him up and it was like a really, I don't know, even the phone call felt a bit shady, but I called him up and he was so not interested in working with me. He was like, he was like, look, if you show this hidden camera setup on camera, people could get killed.
Wow.
Like, what? Because he's like, because this is used by hidden camera undercover cops. And I was like, I won't, we can't do anything. And I said, I don't need to show it on camera. It's so not about the camera.
Right.
So after a lot of discussion, he eventually did agree to work with me. So as a result, I have more than one hidden camera setup, but the actual specifics of that I can't really say. Otherwise, he personally will come after me. He will find me, and who
But
knows?
specifically, you solved the issue of being able to film longer term, maybe yeah.
So I could do 8 hours easily.
Yeah, that's
So does
Yeah,
does
wow.
that mean your editor is watching 8 hours per?
Oh
session?
yeah, this is an interesting thing. Yeah, so I basically have almost every blackjack hand I played on the entire session, right? Not all of them are in shot because the table heights do vary, but I've got all of it, which is really cool. But that does make the edit really tricky because if you want to get some footage, where do you begin? So no, I mean, there's a lot of skimming it. In my initial edit, I will get the back offs and the interesting conversations and put them in, and I might just say, oh, this clip's got a load of play and stuff, and then it's really helpful actually having Jack work on it, because otherwise I think I would go through it all at like 4x speed to just try and find the best little visual bits, which is just pointless. Like, when you start putting in loads of work on something which to a viewer makes maybe 0.5% of difference, and I would think I would get too obsessed. So I'm glad I haven't, but I'll normally skim through it very, very quickly to sort of see.
Maybe you could just have your chips in view the whole time, and the parts where your chips are getting really high, you're like, that must be a part where I'm winning. Maybe there's some saucy content in there, but that's so much footage, man. I mean,
I'm curious.
Just on a side note, by the way, I went to a casino and I just walked in there with a big camera and filmed my gambling endeavor.
Well, I'll strip there for you.
So the casinos generally frown on filming, and I'm wondering, is there a gray area there where they would be extra unhappy to discover?
Oh yeah, well the interesting thing actually is because now I'm quite well known, to say the least, in the US casino scene. Yeah, I mean, when I got there on that previous trip, they did, as soon as I was seen in a casino, they put out what effectively was a countrywide alert to all of the casinos that were on this database system, which is most of them, that I was in the country, which is a real pain.
It's not like you're hiding behind you put on some glasses, you still got this.
Yeah,
exactly.
Unless you go.
Well, yeah. And then they sent another alert out not long after, going, oh yeah, by the way, Bridges has a YouTube channel. Here's a link to one of his videos, which I thought was really funny.
All right, bro. I've got it. Your next video for getting into a casino you've already been to. You walk in with your beard, the way that you are now, you get recognized immediately. And you go, damn. And then you leave. And then you go to the store and you shave. Clean shaven baby face, right? Clean shaven baby face, put on some reading glasses or something, turn into like put on one of those check it like it looks like you've made a shirt out of tablecloth, you know what I mean? And then walk back in. Hello, gentlemen.
Just go for it.
Well,
my name's Breven Stidges.
I can only imagine if you were to do. I can only imagine if you're going to do another series, it's got to be a disguise, right? Because I remember you even saying like you were just getting recognized left, right, and center. I mean, it's great that the casinos are giving you free exposure to get subscriptions and viewers. It's awesome. But a lot of people are asking, when's the next series coming or what's next for the YouTube channels? I mean, is that the only way? Is disguise?
Yeah, I mean, I have actually been to the States and done, I don't want to say another series because I don't think it will be a series, but I did a team trip with my blackjack team where we went and played like the proper, big player, spotter, team play, all of us in the same casino at the same time. And it was incredibly fun. So I did that, and that sound effect was absolutely necessary to underscore that. I liked it. Made me feel badass. No, so we went and did that, and I did radically change my appearance. I don't know how much I should. I'm not still quite sure if I'm going to show my own face on that trip. It's going to be a bit of a. This is why it's not going to be a series. It's probably going to be more of like a one video thing of the trip. A bit like the Vegas video I did, if people have seen that. Because also my teammates obviously don't want to be on camera. So it becomes very tricky to film some of this stuff. But that will definitely, I think, if I get it okayed by the team, that will be on YouTube at some point. And so we'll just have to see. But I got a lot more time when I did some radical appearance changes. It really did reset my face. However, they've still got the facial recognition technology. And once that catches up to you, it does become tricky.
You must be that fake nose couldn't fix, brother. A little bit of putty, a little bit of Bart Simpson style putty, on the chin. And
could work.
Also,
Anyone knows a good
congratulations
prosthetics
on
person?
passing 400,000 on YouTube. That's a massive accomplishment,
Thanks.
dude. You're
Yeah,
one of
thank
the
you.
official big dogs of the gambling community now, huh?
Your work's
Yeah.
outstanding. You know, I put on an episode today, and the wife and I ended up watching you for an hour. She's like, "Doug, this is so much better than the magic content you make me watch."
Which
Oh,
is
that's
true.
funny.
Which is true. You know, it's funny because I think I've said this to Josh before too, where I was like, the problem with magic is it's inherently boring to anyone who's not a magician, right? When you're making content about magic. But all the people who are magicians who have taken off on social media have all switched genres. Like they're still magicians, but they're doing this. Like Chris Ramsey, puzzles. Stephen Bridges, gambling. Spidey Bedros, fucking behavioral sciences. Do you know what I mean? Like they're all very different genres, but
I think it's
purely magic is terrible.
I think doing pure magic, just performing, is one of the hardest niches on YouTube.
Yeah,
I really think that, and I did it for years, and it's just such a grind. There are some people that have done it, but it's so difficult.
I'm in the muck right now. I'll vouch for that. It's tough.
I mean, and I guess the problem is there's no risk, or like there's no drama in it. There's no, it's like
here's what Jason is doing right now, and what you excel at, Stephen, and which I know, and that is this: telling a story in your video that people can emotionally connect to. Not just doing a magic trick to fool them, but giving them something they can relate to and appreciate emotionally as a human.
Yeah, I think I have such an unfair advantage because of doing all this stuff. It just makes it like way easier.
It's not an unfair advantage. You created this. You know, you're doing this.
I guess so. Like,
because you worked hard at producing content so long, you got good at it.
Sure, but I guess what I mean is, I did a talk at the session on card counting at the session that just gone in London.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it was really fun. First time I've done a talk on card counting, and the feedback I got was really good. I was just thinking, well, yeah, I don't know how good my talk was, but it's just because I have these good stories that have happened to me. It just sort of gives me that kind of advantage. So I kind of think that that's one of the things that, I don't know, I'm not sure how to exactly apply this in magic, but when people go and get a really good background in the thing that they're... Say again?
Sorry, it's just a comment. Keep going.
No worries. I think when people, if you want to do a gambling thing and they get really into the world of gambling, like properly in it, and they go meet some professional gamblers or they go meet some professional cheaters, I think that just gives a more interesting backstory that naturally bleeds into the work. So
yes,
I think a lot of the time magicians don't do that. Whereas the ones that really dive into a thing and immerse themselves in a world, so to speak, it just becomes way easier, because if I was going to write a gambling show, the show would almost write itself, I think, because half the stuff in it would be true stories, or at least stuff that's so directly inspired by things that are quite, real.
I mean, you talked about you talked about your last trip that you haven't put out, where you actually had the team all in the same casino. This to me sounds like the real life 21. That had Kevin Spacey in it. Like, you could literally make the reality series of the actual version of that. But at the same time, I wonder, like, are you, because they're all doing the same stuff that you're doing, these guys on your team, are they like, we got this one friend and he loves to film everything. Like, are you like that guy to them?
Yeah, it's a bit like that at times. It's quite funny. Essentially, my team is really close. Like, we're all very good friends. And we essentially are doing what the movie 21 was inspired by, the MIT blackjack team. And we're doing essentially what they created, which is this idea of secretly passing the count and having one person bet big, and which makes it way harder for surveillance to figure it out. And casinos feel very threatened by teams. They do not like it at all. Whereas solo counters, they don't mind so much. But yeah, so my team, obviously, they're very aware that I'm filming, and they all have different rules and stuff, and different kind of opinions. One teammate in particular,
prior to, right? Like, they're like, all right, you can film, but like, don't show my face. Or like, you can film, but I prefer, of course, if you didn't, catch my name or blah blah blah. Yeah. Well,
one teammate, I really scrub the footage. Like, I look for everything. I go, is there any paper in sight? What's on the paper? Is it someone's name? Is someone, I'm so reflections in glass. I almost go too far, but I want to make sure, because once the video is up, it's up. I don't want to take it down. So I really check. No, I had one teammate once when we did the Vegas video, and he at the time was okay with it. You know, blur my face, I'll be fine. And then by the time I came to publish it a couple of years later, and the first series had done pretty well, he was just like, I don't really want to be in it. And I'm like, I've got this whole thing edited. So what I ended up doing was I firstly blurred him on a level, like his whole. There's one person in the Vegas video that's just pixelated like from head to toe, and that's the guy. And I really went for it. So much stuff I did, but I also took out his audio, re-recorded all of his lines in a different accent with my own voice, and then pitch shifted my own voice. So if you go and watch it, like whenever this one guy is talking, it's actually me, because I just wanted to make sure.
I kind of love that. That's kind of awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, I love the amount of work that you're putting into it. It's really becoming like a soul project, isn't it? Where it's just like, you know, I don't know how to explain it. It's just becomes a part of who you are, man. The work becomes your hobby, and your hobby is your fun, and it's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Patrick has an interesting question. Did COVID masks help?
Oh yeah, there was a sweet spot for card counters when COVID masks were really helpful, because obviously you can't see their faces, and I knew of card counters that were going into a place, getting backed off, and then just changing mask and putting on a hat and going back, you know, and it was really tricky to catch them. There's definitely been a tipping point where, particularly in certain places in America where masks are, you know, less of a thing, sometimes wearing a mask can be almost a red flag that you're counting. But what I found in particular was when I was playing as a spotter on my team, on the team trip, spotters are betting the table minimum anyway. So if you're wearing a mask when you're just betting the minimum, no one cares. And then it makes you harder to recognize. Whereas if you're wearing a mask and you're betting big, then sometimes it can make you look like a card counter these days. So there was a sweet spot where everybody was loving them, but not anymore, I think.
So if we may talk strategy, when you say spotter, this would be someone playing at a low limit to find a good count where someone with a big bet can come in and then not arouse as much suspicion by changing their wager. Is that kind of
Yeah. Yeah, so card counters, the way that surveillance catch card counters, one of the most common ways is that when the card counters will change their bet sizes way more than the average player. So, you know, someone might be betting $50 a hand, and maybe they'll go up to 100 when they're feeling lucky, or maybe 150, but it won't really vary a huge amount. Whereas, you know, I've counted and played $25 a hand and then gone to two hands of $650. That's quite a big range, like I said, huge range, and looks very suspicious. And even by card counting standards, that would be considered incredibly aggressive. It's just that the bigger that range is, the sort of lower risk it is, the quicker you get to the long run. So it's good to do that. But you know, surveillance, if they spot somebody that's like white and in their 20s or, you know, early 30s, and then they're doing that, and it's a bit of a red flag.
Or if they're subscribed to their YouTube channel and they see them walk in.
Yeah, that also happens.
Do they actually have counters as well working in the security room, like people keeping counters?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm in touch with a few surveillance people now, and a couple of them do
like
count.
an email from one of them that was letting you ride a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Really happened,
we're getting into so many tangents within tangents, but yeah, I did have a surveillance guy reach out to me and essentially tell me that he gave me a bit more table time because he knew who I was, which I was just like, you're a legend, but I never heard back from him. But anyway,
I'd love to give you a shout out, brother, but you'd lose your job.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But with the spotters thing, yeah, one person is betting. Well, a few people are around the casino betting the minimum, and then we have one person that's the big player. They're going around just throwing money around like it's going out of style. And when we get a high count, we'll signal them over in a secret manner. And then we've got a couple of things we can do, really. We can either tell them what the count is in a code word, or we can just tell them what to do each time they have a decision to make. And then they'll bet big, and at least it looks consistent. You know, the big players betting big, you know, the spotters are betting small, so we can get away with it.
If I was a casino, I would look at your videos, you know, on YouTube and on Nebula, and I'd be like, we should sponsor one. And so like midway when you're gambling, it's like, and today's video is sponsored by Jerry's Casino. They let me stay in their wonderful apartment here and da-da-da-da-da. And this is great. And it's been a really refreshing time. Now back to the gambling. Like, don't you think they make so much money? Like, it's not like, even though, yes, they want to stop you, surely like it's not affecting anything.
Yeah. I'm sort of half surprised that they don't have a thing where they're like, we're going to do a day where it's like, come and count with Steven, or like, come and play blackjack with Steven. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I do get like online casinos often want to sponsor me, but I just say no to all of them now. I just don't. I don't feel super comfortable with it. I'm doing a talk at the World Gaming Conference, which is about as close to the pushing the line as I could go. But when the guy called me up that runs this conference for all the casinos, all the big casinos, this is in Vegas, he said, "Oh, I want you to do a talk." And I was like, "I'm not going to do a talk. I'm not going to give casinos tips on how to catch card counters. Are you mad?" And he was like, "No, I don't want that." He's like, "I want you to talk about, how casinos back off card counters and whether or not you think that's like working well for both parties and stuff." So I'm going to end up chatting essentially about back offs and how I think that the way that casinos handle these situations is a lose-lose. So
I reckon he's going to slide in the casual question where he's like, "So about catching counters."
Yeah.
I bet you he does in front of like the whole audience. He'll just slip it in there and be like, what do you say? A little help for the cats?
Well, Colin Jones, who's my mentor and he runs Blackjack Apprenticeship, that's how I learned. He did a talk at this conference once, and he did this whole thing about how much of a waste of time it is for casinos to try and catch card counters. And he explained that from his team, it wouldn't even come close to the coffee budget for the casinos that they took, for the surveillance room, the coffee. Like, it was just, when you divide it up, it's like nothing. Yet he still said that the most common question he was getting after the talk was just like, "Yeah, but how do we catch card counters?" It's just, it's wild in a way, the lengths that casinos will go. I describe it as they'll sort of drop a nuclear bomb on a house to blow out a candle. I'm like, yeah, it'll work. But a lot of the time,
talking about AI earlier, I imagine there's a world where this comes into play in the near future, where the robots in the sky are catching these things we're talking about, huh?
Yeah, I think technology often moves slowly because of budgets and things like that. Even now, I do see just stuff like better quality cameras popping up. Some of the older pictures when I started, even though it wasn't that long ago, are just these grainy things. And then I got this one sent to me recently, which is this full HD, like really crisp.
Regardless of how many cameras, you have to have human eyeballs on it. It's when you can replace those with another intelligence that maybe they catch more.
You reckon you could mount one of these in your rigs?
Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it?
4K, 10-bit color, just mount it into your hat.
That's it. Just put a really big hat on and I'd be,
hey guys, what's up?
How many guys do they have up there watching? Is there 5, 10, 100?
I don't know. I think it depends on the size of the casino. I've had them, I think a couple, at least. It really depends on the size of the place, but it's just that they have so much work to do. It's not like they couldn't catch a card counter if they were looking for it. It's that they also have to be checking that the dealers aren't making mistakes, that the dealers aren't stealing.
Right.
That, that big player over on roulette, the guy betting loads of money is getting paid properly and he's not doing anything wrong. And that drunk guy is being okay. And, all this stuff. So they've got a lot of work to do beyond just catching counters. So, and surveillance people in general are like criminally underpaid in the US and just treated awfully, from what I can tell. From what I know, they're kept separate, buddy. They're kept separate from the casino staff, as far from what I've heard, and they don't get to go to the same staff parties and stuff.
Oh man,
they don't want those relationships forming and maybe some bias or something happening.
I mean, at the end of the day,
rough life, that job.
At the end of the day,
dark room watching people all day. Ooh.
Tough job.
Card counters are just
Sounds
really
like
enthusiastic.
Sorry. We can edit that out, right?
I was just going to say, it just sounds like that, card counters are just really enthusiastic gamblers. It's just, why kick them out?
I think you're more of an investor. Chess, right? It's not really gambling when you're doing what you're doing. In my opinion, I'm an educated poker player. I don't call that gambling. So I relate to it's investing.
Yeah, the way that I look at it, I think, is just gambling with an edge, which is funny enough the name of a podcast. But I think that's the fairest description, because you're still technically gambling, but you are.
Sorry, you're running a podcast now.
No, I'm not. No.
Are you thinking about starting one up?
No, not at all.
What about other projects? Obviously, the gambling thing's going extremely well for you, but do you have any other things in the pipelines besides just the gambling stuff?
Yeah.
I shouldn't say just the gambling stuff, but
No, it's all good. Well, I think I definitely have a shelf life with card counting, right? Like this is the problem with becoming a famous quote unquote card counter. The better the videos do, the harder it is to do the thing which makes the videos popular. And
come to Australia and do it.
Well, I think a card counting team already ruined Australia for card counters by just hitting it really hard. Now your game quality is really bad, but Otherwise, I totally would be up for it. But
see, Josh, that's why we keep losing.
yeah, that's it. That's it.
Can you talk a little about the Nebula platform that you promote on your channel? Is this something that you think is, talk about it? I'm curious.
Hold on, Doug. Can we get to the source that we were asking before about other projects?
Oh, I thought this tied into that.
No, they're sort of
project,
separate things, but I'll do them bit part.
Okay, all right,
in
go
two
on.
separate things. So yeah, I have a couple of other series ideas. One of which might just take me longer than the card counting to actually do. It's very ambitious. It's way more. It's way trickier to do it legally as a thing. I like stuff that feels like it's a crime, so this it wouldn't be illegal, but it would be like, oh, maybe I do need lawyers just to make sure I don't accidentally break the law and stuff. So something like that, it genuinely could take me ages if I do it. So that's one idea. I've got another idea which kind of leans into a bit more of the sort of darker side of casinos and cheating and stuff, which would be fun. And then the sort of most light idea, the one that I can actually talk about, is I'm thinking about trying poker in some capacity. It doesn't quite have the same sort of sexiness as blackjack, but I think doing it with some interesting rule would be cool. Like trying to become a professional in a really short space of time, or trying to cut a load of corners and see if I can still do it, something like that. So I'm tempted to try something with poker, although I don't think it would be like a huge, long, multi-series thing, maybe even just one video, but I think that'd be quite a fun challenge. And then I've got, as I say, the crime-based stuff that I'd rather not mention right now, just in case it makes it harder to do.
Have you studied poker at all? Have you put any time into the game?
No, I used to play as like an 18-year-old when I was legally old enough to gamble, but I was one of those players that didn't know. I knew how to play, but I couldn't tell you what 3 betting was or whatever.
So that would be a cool series then, in my opinion, to be like, okay, here I go. Let's see what I can learn in this time span, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't get kicked out if they let me in the first place. They might be like, we're not letting you play even poker here.
You're not playing the casino in a poker game, so
not even letting you play roulette.
Dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah, so potentially that. And the Nebula thing is Nebula is essentially a streaming platform that I really like. And yeah, the sort of agency I'm with that do my sponsorships on YouTube also own Nebula. Although Nebula is kind of, I don't know if it's how accurate it is to say it's co-owned, but it's very much like a sharing with creators kind of thing. And all the creators on Nebula feel very invested in the platform. But they're just the nice thing about Nebula is it's essentially all of the content on there is quite high quality. It's not just like anyone can upload. It's carefully curated creators, which means whenever I go on it, I just pick a video almost at random and I know it's going to be pretty good. But there could be potentially some Nebula exclusive projects in the future. Mainly right now, I use it for extra content that I either can't put on YouTube. Sometimes if I have an hour-long interview with a card counter, that's cool content, but it doesn't fit with what people are subscribed for. So that's the kind of stuff I'd put on Nebula. But yeah, in the future, I'll probably do. I've talked with another YouTuber about doing a kind of like a game show style series on Nebula, but we haven't got that far with it yet. But yeah, so there might be potential for some other fun stuff that could come up on Nebula.
Cool.
So,
what is Nebula? Is this like a YouTube adjacent platform, or is it kind of like Patreon?
It's a streaming service. It's kind of it's not like a competitor to YouTube really, because it's just a different. It's just different. I don't know how to put it. It's more curated, right? So it's not just kind of like anyone uploads, but it is another streaming platform. But most of the time, when you have like a YouTube competitor, they just die. They just never succeed. And there's been a few that I won't even name that have had loads of funding behind them, but they haven't worked. But I think the people behind Nebula really believe in what they're doing in a way that I think shows. Maybe this just sounds like BS, but I think with some things you can tell when something's a money grab, and you can tell when there's passion behind a project. So the people behind Nebula are really invested in the creators and keeping creators happy and funding projects and trying new things, as well as just making a really good platform. So
as time goes on, I see services like this being more valuable because there's going to be more muck in the water, and they're going to need to curate the better content, I think.
And I'm really lucky that my stuff is monetized on YouTube, because I really expected there was a huge chance that it could just be all demonetized for whatever reason. But I was lucky. But this is the kind of thing where Nebula can be quite like a relief for creators, because if they get a video demonetized on YouTube, but it's on Nebula and it's fine, and the monetization on Nebula is better per view because it's a paid subscription platform. So there's no ads on Nebula, but it's
What
a bit
is
more of a
the
profit share
YouTube
model.
point of view on this gambling content? Is it there's a gray area where they allow some things and or they
They're
fluctuate?
okay. Yeah, they're okay with gambling content as far as I'm aware. It's more that YouTube absolutely just moves the goalposts whenever they feel like it about what's appropriate. So anything that's even controversial in style, it's something that you have to be careful. I mean, I don't know if you saw recently the whole thing about them punishing or demonetizing videos or limiting them in some way if they had swearing in the first 15 seconds now. Things like that. So you just have to be so careful. So it's not like anything in my videos I think, ooh, this would get demonetized. But it's more that they just might
now where it won't get demonetized now, but it does still get hit with a view. Like I think it gets suppressed in views.
Yeah.
Then you can swear like a sailor after the 15 seconds. Isn't that weird?
For the time being. But you never know really. And this isn't me like crapping on YouTube as a platform. Like I really understand they're doing a lot of things right, but also it is a bit, they might just they can change a rule one day. And if they decide that my content is controversial, they decide, oh, you're filming people that maybe don't know they're being filmed, even if it's legal, and
right,
they can change the rules at any time. So it's nice having other things as well.
But everyone will still remember all your content anyway. But it's kind of like I mentioned this before, but Steve will do it. He was sponsored by an online gambling company, and his whole channel got taken off, both channels, just because he meant he was promoting the online gambling thing, which he was only allowed to do in certain ways. But this one particular one, he said it, or it was like you could see the web link on his laptop, in the background of the video. It just got completely wiped his entire channel.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think my stuff's a little bit different because I'm not. It's weird. You're just watching me. It's like you're watching me have a story about gambling as opposed to the direct gambling stuff. So I think it is categorized a bit differently. But you have to be careful, and rightly so. You don't want to be getting a load of kids into gambling problems before they're even of legal age. And this stuff can happen. It has to be handled with care. And one of the things that I worry about is people going and practicing card counting, not realizing the degree of perfectionism you need to have with it, and then going and losing a load of money. So it's tricky. Because I want people to be careful. Yeah.
Can you practice card counting with online blackjack apps? Like the ones that aren't for money, that are just fun.
Yeah, to an extent. You could. I mean, this is why things like the software that exists for card counters for this very reason, because online blackjack that isn't being really dealt and it's just purely digital, you can't really count it because you can't even see the discard tray to see how many decks of cards have been played and things like that, and the estimation stuff. But you could practice some things. You could go on live blackjack sites where they actually have someone essentially being streamed dealing out the cards, and you can count those, although you couldn't really make money off playing them, but you could count them for practice for sure. The games move a bit too slowly, or you could watch streams of that happening, or YouTube videos of people playing blackjack and count along. But really, I prefer software and just physical practice in front.
You say you can't make money playing them. Can you be a little more specific?
Yeah, I'm planning on doing a video where I try and do this, even though it's basically impossible. But in essence, the problem is that with blackjack, we're looking for certain game conditions. Not all blackjack games are made equally. It's kind of when I mentioned that Australia is rubbish for card counting now. Right, it's because the game conditions aren't great. So, for example, if you have a blackjack game where blackjack pays 3-2, that's a good game. But if you have a game where blackjack pays 6-5, it's not a game worth counting. And that's just one major rule, but there's a lot of little rules like this. And in online blackjack, they have 8 decks of cards shuffled together, and they only deal 4 of them before they shuffle. And if you're counting the cards, that information that you have in your head becomes more and more valuable as time goes on in that shoe. So when they're only dealing 4 cards out, it really drastically ups your N0, which essentially is the amount of time it takes to be within a 65% chance or something like that of being up. And that can put something, we don't want to spend thousands of hours before we're guaranteed in profit. And these online games would be that. Not to mention, I think that they probably have software which is counting alongside, and then they'll just see if you're raising your bet. I'm going to give it a go. but I think it's going to be a train wreck.
I look forward to it. Sounds like good content anyway.
I'll be watching.
Yeah. How high is the count before you start putting money down? Is there a general rule? Because I've just mucked around with when I'm playing online, which is why I was asking you. Yeah, is there a number?
Yeah, one most of the time. Well,
one.
We well, kind of.
What?
So essentially, the running count is the count of each individual card when you're going through, right? Which is what if magicians know anything about card counting, they'll know what we call the running count. They'll be like, oh yeah, +1, -1, 0. Yeah, I can. That's what they'll be thinking. But that number tells you. So when you're on a positive count, let's say you're at a running 1, and you've got one deck of cards in play, and it's not one of these things where you've got 6 decks. It's just one deck, and you've got a running 1. That means that you've essentially got a ratio where there's one extra high card. It's not quite like this, but it's like one extra high card. There's one low card, missing, so there's an extra high card. That's enough to give you an advantage, or basically around about a break even, depending on the actual blackjack game. That can up your odds by like 0.5% ish. But really, what we're looking for is the true count, which is the running count divided by the amount of decks remaining, because that tells us the ratio. Because having one extra, if I took an ace and I put it in this deck card, so there's one extra ace, that would be like cool. But if I put an ace in 8 decks shuffled together, that wouldn't be enough to have an advantage. I've not explained that very well, but in essence, we're looking at the ratio. So what we'll do is we'll know how many decks of cards are in play. We'll look at the discard tray. We'll see how many decks of cards are there to the nearest like half deck, and then we'll divide the amount of decks remaining by what we have the running count, and that will give us our true count. And the true count really is the number that tells us what our advantage is. And in general, at a true 1 or maybe a true 2 for some games, you have a slight advantage over the house, and then you would up your bet proportionately. But you'd up your bet as that count gets higher and your advantage grows.
When you up the bet, is it directly related to this ratio? Like, will you change that? Guess so, yeah.
Yeah, we'll use software to sort of generate like a bet spread, and we'll crunch numbers in various different ways based off risk tolerance, how much money we have, how blatant we want to look when we're counting, and things like that. But yeah, in general, most counters will up. When the true count goes up by 1, they will increase their bet by X or whatever. So, maybe you bet $100 on a true 1, maybe you bet $200 on a true 2, $300 on a true 3, and that goes up to, say, a true 6, where you wouldn't really go past that for the most part. So you might be doing $600 on a true 6. But it doesn't have to be that linear, not $100 for a 1. It's sometimes, a bit less consistent. It might be a different kind of graph.
So part of your job is to go home and crunch some of these situations and figure out optimal play for future sessions.
Yeah, luckily we have software that does this, and pen and paper, I would never be able to do it. And when we do team trips, this is one of the reasons why it's good to have like a team manager. So our team manager will essentially decide the bet spreads. And when we're doing solo play, we'll usually have like an aggressive spread and a tamer spread, so that we can pick between them based off what we think the casino's tolerance is like. Sometimes if a casino is like a small casino, then you going in and betting $1,000 on a hand might make you stand out a lot, to the point where it's almost not worth doing. So we might have different spreads depending on the environment.
We got a pretty serious question from Patrick. Are you married? Because I need help convincing my wife to let me quit working. So
I'm ready too, buddy. Patrick, I'm with you, man. When you're ready look up me.
What are you talking about? You already live in the proverbial dream, Doug.
Yeah, but I'm not opposed to a little side action on the gambling table.
Full-time content creating looking ass mother.
Come on now. I like the felt.
I am not married, although I have a very supportive girlfriend who supports me doing this stuff. I will say that card counting, I think, is best suited as a part-time thing, only because the time when my mental health suffered the most was when I was playing in the UK 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, because you're constantly losing so much money and winning a lot of money, but you really just like your whole world becomes this in a way that I think is quite unhealthy. And it is a lot, even though everybody thinks, oh yeah, I understand, I get it, I can handle the losses if I'm winning most of the time. But sometimes you lose for hundreds of hours. Yeah, it's just incredibly painful, or tens of thousands of dollars. On our team trip that I was mentioning, the one that isn't on YouTube yet, one of my teammates lost $45,000 in one session. He did
Oof.
like a little solo play, a couple hours, 45K off the team bankroll, gone.
Wow.
But he had the resilience to keep playing. You know, he was like, yeah, got to keep going. And, you know, if he needs to go and sit and cry in his car afterwards, then he will. But that's like just how it goes sometimes. So I will say, you don't know what's going to hit you, is what I would say to this person. It's going to be more painful than you expect.
Yeah, it's brutal, right?
However, part-time, I think it can be pretty good. I certainly think that relying on your entire income from card counting is, gosh, I mean, you really imagine having a really good day at work and you're like, oh, I absolutely crushed today. I was on the ball and I won $4,000 today, just incredible. But then imagine going, I've got time for one more shoe and losing 6K in the shoe, and then you've lost $2,000. It's like, it's so, and then also they tapped you on the shoulder and 5 security guards were there and one of them started yelling at you and like going, you don't belong here. You know, that kind of stuff can happen. So it can become pretty painful. Not to say don't do it to this guy. I just think that, you know, even though in my videos I try and show the low points and the high points, everything's still going to end up being a bit of a highlight reel anyway. When you put music behind it, it's going to feel overall quite positive. But I think for most people,
when you talk about
it's
doing
not.
it for like 6 hours, 6 days a week, was this part of your learning process or was this just your job?
Yeah, this was just my job in essence. I never filmed this portion, but I was just playing in some places you just can't film legally. There's just no way around it. It's like very illegal. So in those places, I just played a lot. And I just had a run when I was playing around the UK and other European sort of countries. And I was just doing it like 6 hours a day. Was what I aimed for. Yeah.
So are you currently surviving solely off blackjack and content creation right now?
Yeah, so I have like a few, I guess I have 3 revenue streams mainly, one of which is card counting and investing in other card counters. So if I have my team, if someone's going on a trip and I can't go on the trip, I'll still put money into the trip whenever
like
possible.
Big honcho now,
Nice.
huh? Oh,
Nice.
I feel like it's my duty to invest. Like once you're making money gambling with an edge, it just becomes like a no-brainer to put the money in when the opportunity's there.
Investing.
I kind of think, it's like, the gambling gods have given me this money and they did it by me gambling. So I must continue to do that too. Like, it just feels like, I don't really think about it. I just go, okay, what you need, done, kind of thing, if I can afford it. But most of the time, people don't need loads of money because the team's already well bankrolled. So that's one thing. The content creation, being a full-time YouTuber is can be quite a good way of making a living, especially if you've got sponsorships. One of the things that I made the mistake of when I was doing my early YouTube days was I wasn't monetizing very effectively. And I think that is such a bad thing to do. Like now I would recommend that all YouTubers do sort of monetize their content. Like if you can get a sponsor, get a sponsor. Do the sponsor read at the end of the video. People can click off if they don't care or they don't want to, support you. But the difference it can make in revenue is massive. And then that revenue can be used in ways that's really useful. So for example, I have this whole idea for a series, probably just like 4 episodes or something, but it would cost loads of money to make. I'd have to book a studio. I'd have to book multiple camera people. I'd have to get in all sorts of kind of things. And I'm like, I can take that risk because I've had previous videos sponsored. So that's just something I would say.
But you say like, just get a sponsor. How does one just get a sponsor?
I'm not saying it's necessarily easy. I more just mean that when the opportunity is there, like a lot of people get a bit worried about, what if my audience doesn't like that I'm selling something or pitching something? I'm like, well, don't pitch stuff that you think are bad. Like obviously turn down sponsors that are, bad. Yeah, exactly. But you can still. For me, I was so happy that I could pitch Nebula, and I'm like, I think this is a great service. So I'm like, great, awesome. This is really easy sell for me. It's a cheap thing and it's good content. So if you can work with sponsors and you don't let them get in the way of the content, then I think it's worth doing because it can help you make better content.
And then, sorry, is the last stream of income Magic Mastery, or is it?
Yeah. So I run a membership with Jacob Daniels and Danny Goldsmith and Benji as well, called Magic Mastery. Originally, it was just I made a membership, but then these other guys also made memberships, and then at one point we decided to sort of merge together, and it just all became this one big thing. So that's going really well, actually. That's really become so much better as we've merged together. And Danny's like one of the greatest coin magicians in
Talk
the
a little
world.
bit
And
more about that. What you got going on over there? You do like, I guess, tutorials and stuff. You do.
yeah. So we have a library of content. A lot of everything that I've published is in Magic Mastery, and a lot of the stuff that I put, like my own effects, I don't have for sale outside of it. Some of them I do. So it's all that stuff. I've got some nice stuff like in there. I'm absolutely inevitably going to mess this up right now, but I have this shuffle sequence that's, I guess only magicians are going to be watching this, but this is like a full deck false shuffle that I made. That's I'll just do it a few times whilst
Ooh, that's nice.
Very nice.
Ooh, yeah.
By the way, while he's shuffling,
That's so good.
while he's shuffling, the link to Magic Mastery is in the link of this podcast already. Just so you know.
Why, thank you. But yeah, so we have a lot of content. We also have like a big community focus. So we have a couple of Discord calls that we do every week, Mondays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. UK time, although we also open up other ones and members hop on to the spontaneous ones. And then I'll be on those basically every time. Danny is in a heck of a lot of them too. And we just jam, we chat magic, we help people out with ideas they've been working on. I literally was just on one of those calls before hopping over onto this podcast. And we were discussing like a math-based routine involving calculators and stuff that someone's going to be performing. So we have a big community focus and we've got a lot of nice ideas in the works. But yeah, it's definitely, I think it's quite a wholesome place. We work really hard to keep the community nice.
Yeah, I know Mika speaks highly of it.
Yeah,
that's right.
This is filling the gap that magic shops used to provide when I was a young man, allowing magi come together and jam and learn from their peers and have that session experience.
Yeah. To me, that's a really important element of it. And obviously not all of the, it's interesting because different members are there for different things. So some members are all about the content. We have members that joke about not logging into the site because they're really there for like the Discord calls and they're there every single Discord call. And then, so it does range what people are sort of doing, but I think it's a good spot for quite a nice wide range of skill levels too. We've got like some proper advanced stuff. We've got a lot of mem deck content. We've got a lot of very advanced coin stuff, but then we've also got stuff that's appropriate for beginners and coin magic course for beginners and card shuffle slides for beginners and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it's quite a nice range, but it's very much a passion project for me, but it's growing very, very well. And there's it's quite a lot of members now, and it's nice. It's a fun place to be. Sorry, I see the
We've
comments.
got Jason.
Thank you, Mike.
Jason Yoakum here asking to do the rising card. I'm guessing, is that an inside Magic Mastery?
No pressure.
No pressure. Well, it's from
fun. Yeah.
This is like decades and decades old, and it's not mine, but from a shuffle deck in use, borrowed. I think it's like the best impromptu rising card that you can basically. Oh gosh, my angles are so weird on this, but like I've done this.
Yeah, cool.
It's the perfect one if you're doing a loops routine and your loop snaps. It really.
I remember this like old version of it. Yeah, I haven't done this in years. There we go.
Yeah.
It's
that
like
could be
actually directly from the center.
Yeah.
You see, it's actually like nice and dead in the center there. Yeah, it's OG move. Damn, Mr.
Like
Bridges.
I'm surprised that there's like all these other rising card from decks that exist that are just from a shuffle deck and use, and I think none of them look nearly as good as this one. And it's not mine, so it's really old. To be fair, it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. Doug immediately just like shows something incredible.
I've never even done that one. I remembered it from a book.
What's the other one, Josh? Is it this one?
Ooh, that's cool.
Oh yeah.
What's it called? The Angel Control?
Fairy Dust or something like that.
You guys aren't allowed to come over here and start showing really good impromptu
effects when rising out of the middle.
I do it crappy. But...
Yeah. And then I remember seeing this one, which who made it?
Just you've started something now.
I think it's Bill Malone, actually. He does this first, and then he goes and does it actually as a change.
Greg Wilson,
nice.
Or maybe it was Bill Malone as well.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Greg Wilson did it in card stunts.
Anyway, this has just become a Discord chat now. So
it's fine.
That's what it's all about.
That's right.
There's many different rising cards. I think too many Too many
Indeed.
rising cards.
You should know at least 12 to be a real magician.
That's right.
You could do a 365 days of triumph. We've already discovered that.
That's right. Hey,
Oh, no.
any rising
Well.
card lifts all decks. You know what they say?
Yeah. I love that quote. Iconic.
I'm glad you got it.
That's good. Man, that's amazing that you're doing some amazing things and you've still got projects in the bank ready to go. And
Thanks. Well,
And
yeah,
you-
I don't feel very organized, but we'll see.
nobody ever does, man. Nobody ever does. I feel like an absolute mess at the moment. Stephen, you did a straitjacket escape at one stage on the streets, yeah?
I did one time.
Did you ever get these? Look at this. I don't know if you can see just along here, but there's this
no.
horrible bruising. Did you ever
Honestly,
get those? Look at this.
When I say I did it one time, I literally did it one time.
Oh, okay. I started
probably
writing a whole
changed.
new show for this festival with the straitjacket, and it's like
Nice.
slowly a progressive thing where it's getting better and better. But holy, I'm bruised. On
Are you
my
doing
arms,
chains,
like,
I guess, right?
across the wrists here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the chains will get you.
Mm.
Oh, I don't know. I have no advice for you. I did it one time and I nearly fell off the box, but I was largely okay. I'll
What
tell you what
about-
though, I love doing straitjacket escape because it's the only trick. It's the only trick you can do where at the end you can kind of go, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you get the heroic throwdown of the
I
jacket.
know, I
right, where
really
you get to
enjoyed
slap it
that.
on the ground.
You don't get that with Card to Lemon.
Yeah.
Did that skill come in handy when you're trying to escape from the straitjacket of the casinos when they lock you and tie you to a chair?
I
get
felt
out and
the
you're
touch to a chair. But actually, I got a text from somebody last month and he said, should I see if I can find the exact word perfect thing? Maybe I can't find it. Well, he basically told me that he, in December, got backed off by the casino and they took him in the back room and chained him to the chair. And
Wow.
I don't know what's more crazy about this story, the fact that that happened or the fact that that is the second time I've known of someone get chained to a chair in a casino. The second
Wow.
time. And the
So these
first guy
things
happened to
actually
sued the casino and won. And now my friend is suing this casino. And if I told you the casino, you would be mind blown, but I probably shouldn't say it. But you would be like, "What?" You'd think they would know
Mars
better.
Casino out in the country, you know.
It's no, it's a big. It's a name you'll know. But hey,
Wow.
So hopefully he'll get like $500,000.
Chris
or
Angel's
something.
Casino, everybody. Chris Angel's Casino. I knew
Yeah.
it.
You heard
But
it here
like-
first.
Yeah, we couldn't trust that smug son of a bitch.
And like, what
Wow.
are they keeping him chained for like hours or?
No, I don't think it was for very long. But they did threaten to. Well, you were just sworn, so yeah, they threatened to beat the shit out of him. Well,
Hmm.
they didn't say it
Wow.
to him. They just were like, "I want to beat the shit out of this guy," which is, I think, a direct threat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
So
it's
he's
like
obviously traumatized.
Now, if only
really.
he had your special Secret Service webcam, like spy cam.
Well, they didn't need it because the lawyer just contacts the casino and they have to hand stuff over in those cases.
Ah.
unlucky for
Do
the
they
cats.
now?
Yeah. If there's an accusation of, they can
And
get
deleting
it.
deleting any evidence is an admission of guilt. So
That would be bad, I think.
they have to hand it over. So
Hmm.
But I think the casinos would
Yeah.
just want to fire whoever's responsible and settle, I imagine.
Yeah,
But
that's the problem. The weak link in the chain is the human brain because a lot of them are dumb.
yeah,
We meet some of them
one
on
of
your
the-
videos.
one of the things I say to my team all the time, it's like this catchphrase I say: never underestimate how smart or dumb casinos can be. 'Cause it's just both. They can be incredibly clever, and they can also be like, "What?"
Yeah, when you're dealing with management at 3 a.m., good luck with what you got.
Yeah,
And
that
I
guy
guess
with the
Working
big
the
beard
ship.
and the gun clip tie.
a quick question. In Australia, they use the
Oh, yeah, the
automatic
gun clip.
reshuffling shoes,
Yeah,
unless you're in the high dealers room. Is that becoming a thing in the US, or do they all still use the manual shoes, or you just know where those ones are? Those
yeah.
casinos?
In general, they're not that popular in the US because Americans don't trust them. They just don't want to play on them,
Mm.
which I understand. I
Mm.
think if you're going into the casino to play like a game with real cards and you spend all your day on a computer anyway, I think you want it to be tactile and not particularly digital. So I think a lot of the time they don't like the machine. Also, both card counters but also like just regular blackjack. Regular blackjack players really believe in like catching a wave, and they just feel like it doesn't happen on a continuous shuffle machine. You know, they just don't think that's a thing. And whether or not that's true or not, and we're getting into like maths versus superstition, people feel very differently about a standard hand shuffle kind of game in a shoe. So they exist a lot more in Europe and in Australia, as you said, because we don't seem to really care. And they are popping up on the lower limit tables in the US. And who knows what the state of blackjack will be like in 20 years. But right now, most casinos, it's not like I have to avoid a casino because they don't have the hand shuffle games. That's pretty rare.
We're going to have to protest, Jace. We're going to have to protest to get the manual shoes back.
I would.
So,
well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've all enjoyed Stephen Bridges here. I know I have. And make sure that you go and subscribe to magicmastery.com, but not before subscribing to, me.
I teach the fan over.
Thanks for listening.
We're back.
Sorry, I got on out. Yeah.
You want to do that again?
He teaches the fan, baby.
I don't really teach the fan.
Like I said, we need better production values.
There we go.
Riffle fan.
We'll see you at Magic Mastery.
Thanks for listening. It's time for us to disappear now. But we'll see you again on the next episode of The Magic Guys.